The book of Job tells a story about a man named Job. Job was a good man who loved God very much. He was known for his unwavering faith and righteousness, and he was blessed with a large family, wealth, and many possessions. He had a wife, but the Bible doesn't say her name. Despite her anonymity, she played a significant role in Job's life and story. We don't know much about her. The Bible provides only a few glimpses into her character and thoughts, leaving much to our imagination. What we do know is that she suffered a terrible tragedy alongside her husband. When Job lost his children, his wealth and his health, his wife was there, enduring the same pain and loss. Job's wife is only mentioned briefly in the Bible. Her presence is subtle, yet her impact on the narrative is profound. She isn't given a name or a lot of lines. Her silence and the brevity of her appearances add to the mystery surrounding her. But what she says is important. In a moment of despair, she challenges Job, asking him why he continues to hold on to his integrity and faith in God despite their immense suffering. Her words help us understand the story of Job in a new way. They highlight the human struggle with faith and doubt, especially in the face of overwhelming adversity. They also remind us that everyone experiences grief and pain differently. Job's wife's reaction to their suffering is a poignant reminder of the varied ways people cope with loss and hardship. Her story, though brief, adds depth to the narrative and invites us to reflect on our own responses to life's challenges. Job was a wealthy man with many children. He was blessed with a good life. But then Satan tested Job's faith by taking away everything he held dear. Job lost his wealth, his children, and even his health. He suffered greatly. Through all of this, Job remained faithful to God. He refused to curse God, even though he was in terrible pain. Job's faith was strong. He believed that God was still with him, even in the midst of his suffering. Job's wife shared in her husband's suffering. She also lost her children and her comfortable life. She was overwhelmed by grief. Seeing her husband covered in sores, she reached her breaking point. She told Job to curse God and die. Her words were spoken out of pain and despair. They weren't meant to be cruel. Job's wife was hurting. She couldn't understand why God would allow such terrible things to happen to them. Her faith was shaken. After this outburst, Job's wife is never mentioned again in the Bible. We don't know what happened to her. Some people believe she left Job. Others believe she stayed by his side. The Bible doesn't tell us her fate, but her absence speaks volumes. It reminds us that suffering can have a profound impact on relationships. It can drive people apart or bring them closer together. We can only imagine the depth of her grief and the difficult choices she faced. Over the years, people have viewed Job's wife in different ways. Some see her as a negative figure, a temptress who tried to turn Job away from God. Others see her as a sympathetic figure, a woman driven to despair by unimaginable loss. There is no right or wrong answer. The Bible doesn't give us enough information to judge her. What's important is that we try to understand her perspective. She was a woman in pain. Her story reminds us that everyone experiences suffering differently. Even though her story is brief, we can learn a lot from Job's wife. Her presence in the narrative, though often overshadowed by Job's immense suffering, offers us a unique perspective on human resilience and vulnerability. First, her story teaches us about the power of suffering. Job's wife experienced profound loss and pain, just as Job did. Her reactions, though controversial, are deeply human and relatable. Suffering can test our faith and push us to our limits. It can strip away our sense of security and challenge our beliefs. Job's wife, in her moment of despair, questioned the very foundation of her faith. It can make us question everything we thought we knew about God. Her words, "Curse God and die," reflect a heart overwhelmed by grief and confusion, a sentiment many can empathize with in their darkest hours. Second, Job's wife's story teaches us about the importance of empathy. In her pain, she expressed what many might feel but are afraid to voice. Her vulnerability invites us to consider the depths of human emotion. It's easy to judge others when they're going through a difficult time. We often forget that everyone has their breaking point, and what might seem like weakness is often a cry for understanding and support. But we need to remember that everyone copes with pain differently. Some may turn inward, while others might lash out. Job's wife shows us that there is no right or wrong way to grieve. What might seem like a betrayal to one person might be a cry for help from another. Her story encourages us to look beyond the surface and offer compassion, even when we don't fully understand someone's actions. Job's story also reminds us that even in the midst of suffering, we can find strength in our faith. Job never lost his faith in God, even when it seemed like God had abandoned him. He continued to pray and trust in God's plan. Job's faith was eventually rewarded. God restored his health, his wealth, and his family. Job's story teaches us that no matter how difficult things may seem, God is always with us. He will never leave us nor forsake us. The story of Job and his wife is a powerful reminder that we are not alone in our suffering. Their journey through immense trials and tribulations teaches us the importance of standing by each other, especially in times of despair. We all experience pain, loss, and grief at some point in our lives. These moments of sorrow can feel overwhelming, as if the weight of the world is pressing down on us. Yet it is in these very moments that the strength of our connections with others becomes most evident. But even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. The dawn of a new day brings with it the promise of renewal and the possibility of healing. The light that shines through the ancient temple symbolizes the enduring spirit of hope that resides within each of us. When someone we love is hurting, the best thing we can do is offer them our love and support. A simple gesture, like holding their hand or offering a shoulder to lean on, can make a world of difference. It is through these acts of kindness that we show our compassion and empathy. We may not be able to understand what they're going through, but we can be there for them. Our presence alone can provide comfort and reassurance. Sometimes words are not necessary. Our silent support speaks volumes. We can listen to them, pray for them, and help them through their pain. Prayer can be a powerful source of solace, offering a sense of peace and connection to something greater than ourselves. By coming together in prayer, we create a community of support that can uplift and strengthen those who are suffering. In times of hardship, it is also important to remember the value of community. Sharing our burdens with others can lighten the load and provide a sense of belonging. Whether through shared meals, stories, or simply being present, our collective compassion can help heal even the deepest wounds. The ancient texts remind us that compassion is a timeless virtue. It transcends cultures and eras, reminding us of our shared humanity. By reaching out with compassion, we honor the legacy of those who came before us and pave the way for a more compassionate future.